Hey, good afternoon. Scott Luton, Greg White with you here on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's live stream. Greg, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
That is the most succinct you've ever been.
Well, yeah, I feel like I should wait till my formal introduction as guest, don't you? Let's talk about our guest today.
So our
You know
guest,
what, Scott? Enough of you talking about me. Let me talk about me.
never to disappoint. We are turning the tables and going to be putting Greg on the spot a bit about talking about one of his areas of expertise, and that is business leadership, growth, navigating some of the hurdles we're seeing now and what lies ahead. So much to talk about, Greg. And we've got a special guest. Why don't you go ahead and let that cat out of the bag?
Yeah. So Steve Keaveney, who's one of the principals at Clarity Capital Advisors. If you know us, you know we call him out pretty frequently. He's usually doing his exercise while we're doing our show. But we've actually pulled him off the treadmill or bike or swimming pool, whatever. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about finance and some of the wackiness that is going on in the investment world right now as well. So that'll be fun. He is a pro. I don't know if you know this, Scott. He has done over $1 billion worth of deals personally.
Wow.
He is one of those CFOs that people bring in when they're looking to do a merger or acquisition or go public or whatever. So,
well, it is Wonder Twin Powers activate time when we get Steve and Greg in the same room. So stay tuned. A ton of practical, been there, done that, and here's what's going to happen. Expertise to come. Let's say hello to a few folks before we get going here. Let's see. David is with us. David, hope this finds you well, and hope we get a little tech. I think we've had some tech glitches. I know from personal experience that LinkedIn's been kind of shaky the last 3 or 4 weeks in a number of different ways. So hopefully we can navigate through, Greg.
Yeah, I'm watching us, the 20-second delay. I'm watching it over here. Man, my video is very sketchy right now. So I'm wired, right? I'm wired to our router and all that sort of thing. I'm not sure what's going on. I made sure to keep the kids off of Fortnite. So I know they're not stealing bandwidth.
Right. Storms have been sweeping through the Southeast, to be fair. That always could do something. Cindy Palmer, good morning. Great to have you here via LinkedIn. She is part of the incredible team over at vets2industry.org, one of the best nonprofits, one that's on the move, doing a lot of things for our veterans. So great to see you here, Cindy. Enjoyed the event last weekend. We have Amanda with us on LinkedIn, of course. We can't do it without Amanda. Pratik is with us via LinkedIn. Daria Patel is with us, also via LinkedIn. Benjamin Goldklang, 3 live streams in a row. What's going on? It's craziness.
He is back, people. Yes.
Gary Smith, Peter Bole, Todd Raines is with us. That is awesome to see.
He gave me up right here on the air. Todd is my college roommate, best friend, pricing optimization expert, right? First of all, I know. Look, it chokes me up too. It's very inspiring. I'm surprised we even survived college, much less for him to become such a pro in these things. Also, ultimate car guy. You think I'm a car guy? This cat, those cars, motorcycles. He rides like road bikes. In super shape.
Oh, TR, we're going to have to get TR on the live stream at some point. Manny Balan tuned in, I think, via Vietnam. Great to have you via LinkedIn.
Outstanding.
John Perry getting ready for the Shockers game, Greg, 6 hours away.
Yes, John, I am ready. Watch us.
Paula Moore, and great to see you here. And she says another week is zoomed by. Interested to hear Greg White's perspective on normal.
Like, what would I know about that? What would I know about normal?
Kyle McNaught is with us. And Kyle, hope this finds you well. Freight Plus, I think, is the new brand name for him and his organization. Great podcast. Y'all make sure you connect with Kyle on that. And finally, Natalie Christian, great to see you here. As always, Natalie, looking forward to everyone's perspective. Okay, we got to get to work, Greg. We got so much to cover here today. Let's see here. Let's talk about this webinar has really resonated. Not only do we have a big crowd already registered for this event, it's taking place next week, but we look at webinar. One of the metrics we look at, Greg, is when folks click on the webinar link and then how many folks go on and register.
Yeah,
that ratio is much higher than what we typically see. So I think a lot of folks are looking forward to, talk about been there, done that perspective, creative application of Industry 4.0 in the manufacturing space in particular. So we look forward to that next week, right?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this whole discussion because, it is the whole point of Industry 4.0 is it's the fourth industrial revolution driven by tech. So fascinating to talk to these folks. Plus, Tobias Hofmeister does a lot of work with Porsche. So enough said.
Listen up. Clay the dog.
Do it again.
Listen up. Clay the dog just reminded me to remind our wonderful folks in the comments in the community that if you've registered on LinkedIn, if you've opted in on LinkedIn, you still have got to register on the GoToWebinar so that you'll get that sign-on email. So be sure to do that. The LinkedIn's great for a reminder, kind of keeps it front and center, but make sure y'all complete the registration process. If you have any questions, shoot Amanda or Clay a note and we'll get you taken care of. Moving right along, let's see here. We published today an outstanding replay of the Buzz from Monday. And Greg, we could spend the next 3 hours talking about Laura Cesari, but she shared a little bit of her journey, a little bit of design thinking and supply chain, both advantages and disadvantages, and a whole lot more, including challenging our community to find someone that you could help keep from almost quitting. Very powerful commentary from Laura, right?
What an honest assessment that was. I mean, I think we even asked the questions kind of leading, you must have been lifted up or felt whatever, however we phrased the question. She said, actually, I almost quit. Instead of powering through, she almost quit, but somebody, I think it was Bob Marsden. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Convinced her to not quit. And wow, what an honest assessment of your struggles.
Agreed. Be like Bob and Fred, Greg. Bob and Fred were two of the folks that kept her from quitting, right?
There you go.
So check that out wherever you get your podcast from. And Greg, on Tequila Sunrise, you had a world-renowned guest. You and her talking about Wonder Twin Powers Activate. Tell us about this conversation.
Totally overwhelmed. If you saw the video that I posted on it, I couldn't even keep up with all of the things that she's done, the number of initiatives that Dr. Sally Eves, I'm sure she's not one of those people who insists on being called doctor, by the way. But one of the things that she does is she is a tech guru. I mean, she's kind of been a CTO for a lot of companies. She's a CTO with on a lot of emerging technology companies and an advisor. She knows a lot about AI, blockchain, machine learning, IoT, all of the keywords. And yet what her main focus is tech for social change, to enable social change. And her aspirational, you have to forgive me, I wrote it down and then I forgot it, but aspirational futures, right, is all about STEAM, which STEAM is, what a great adaptation of STEM. It's STEM plus art, right? STEM with a lot of artistic creativity. And that's so Sally. She is an engineer through and through, a musician as well. I don't know if she's as good a guitar player as Todd Raines, but I did convince her to compose her own walkout music for when she goes and presents at South by Southwest.
Awesome. Love it. Y'all check that out.
It's a fascinating story. It's a great an inspiring and informative discussion. And it was just a heck of a lot of fun. She's just such an uplifting person.
Agreed. Check that out. Tequila Sunrise. Make sure you subscribe for free so you don't miss a conversation. And Azalea is with us here today. We published a replay of her podcast on the main channel yesterday, I believe. And that was a wonderful conversation. So Azalea, great to have you here with us today. Now, Gregory.
Yes.
We're gonna go off. We're gonna break some rules here this morning. So we've got a great guest.
You're not gonna swoosh me in.
No, we're not gonna swoosh you in. But we do have a great guest, folks. Sit tight. We've got Steve Keaveney joining us here in about 5-10 minutes or so. But we're gonna go off road. We're gonna break some rules because we do Todd let that cat out of the bag. Dadgummit. We've got a special occasion to celebrate here today. Not today. It's Saturday officially, but it is Greg White's 29th birthday coming up Saturday.
That's right. The 26th anniversary of my 29th birthday.
Yes. Now, Greg, we for this brief celebration, we went back deep into the Supply Chain Now history and museum and files. And we found a snapshot of you and I on our first podcast 500 or 600 episodes ago, heading to University of Alabama at Birmingham to conduct your first appearance. Let's see if I can find that real quick.
Oh my God.
There we go. That's us headed to Birmingham.
That is about what it looks like. That's the old how it started.
Right. So
that's how it started.
Yeah.
It did kind of feel like that.
Right. Well, kidding aside, I got to tell you, we hate, we were able to get together for team shots not too long ago, not with the whole team. We missed Kevin and Kelly and a few others.
Yeah.
But it was good to see everybody in person. I hate that we can't celebrate your birthday in person, but, so really important for you to know just how instrumental, first off, our team loves you as a friend and as a just who you are, Greg White, who you are, right? No meeting is the same without Greg White. No conversation is the same, but it's really important that that you've been instrumental in our growth and where we are today and where we're headed. I couldn't imagine beyond my wife, Amanda, and of course, Clay, who's with us here today, and the rest of our team, still to conduct all these shows and kind of lay out the plan and build it and execute on it. You've been, it's a pleasure to do this with you as we build this global digital platform. So I want you to know how important you are to us and how much our team loves you. And just, you're one of the smartest guys I know. And I don't say that loosely. He really is, guys. So if y'all have a question, you want to get an answer on, shoot Greg a note. Now, Greg, we're not getting back on the main road just yet.
Oh, Lord.
Because I'm hoping this works. And folks, if y'all indulge me just a minute, Paula and Gary and David and Kyle and Nerfat, hey, great to see Nerfat. We have got a little bit of fabulous bean footage all compiled just for one Greg White. So Clay, let's see if this works. Almost on cue.
So first of all, happy birthday to our dear friend, the one and only Greg White.
Oh my gosh.
Greg, I wanted to share with everybody a little bit about how we met and kind of how I know you. So the first time that I met Greg, it was right when Scott and I were deciding that we were really wanting to get serious with Supply Chain Now. And Scott was like, you've got to meet Greg White. He's going to be a big part of this with us. And I said, let's do it. So we went and we met Greg at a Panera in town. And we were just sitting down, chit-chatting, getting to know each other. He asked me, what I was doing, what my background was in, that kind of thing. And I said, I've got this marketing firm. My background is in marketing. I've been doing, a lot of the social media and lots of the marketing responsibilities for Supply Chain Now. And he said, well, sounds like you're the CMO. And my position was kind of established right there at that table at Panera that day. Greg has always been such an advocate for us, for Scott and I, always been such a trusted advisor. And Greg has always given me a lot of confidence and kind of affirmed me in my position in the company. And really, it started that day and he has ever since. He has does an incredible job of identifying strengths within a person, recognizing them for it, and then fostering, those strengths within the person. He empowers people that he works with. He has always empowered me. He asks a lot of people, but he also gives a lot in return. Everybody knows what an asset Greg is to Supply Chain Now, on podcasts, on webinars, on the live streams. But he is such a valuable, probably an even more valuable member of Supply Chain Now, to our team behind the scenes. When we met that day at Panera, I knew we were gaining an incredible leader, an incredible partner with Supply Chain Now. But I had no idea that with Greg and Vicki, we were gaining such valuable friends. We definitely talked to him more than we talked to our family. So Greg, happy birthday. Here's to many, many more. Lots of success personally and professionally in the future. We think the world of you. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dad. Thanks for being the all-around best supporter, leader, inspirer, and all-around dad. We love you so much, and I'm so excited we could be a part of this today. And of course, go Chiefs.
Happy birthday, Greg. We love you so much, and we're so thankful for how positive and great of an impact you've had on our lives. And, we're just so happy to be a part of the wild ride that is yours. So happy double nickels, and we love you, and go Chiefs.
Hey, Greg. Just recording a quick note to you on your birthday. I don't know if you quite grasp the importance you've had in my life. Everybody has kind of those watershed moments in their lives. For me, they're few and far between. But for example, there's only one musician that I know the first time I heard them, the exact details of where I was, who I was with, what we were doing, everything along those lines. Much like there's only one friend that I have that I can tell you the exact details of the first time we met and everything about it. So in a weird kind of way, you share a part of my twisted psyche with Stevie Ray Vaughan. But you probably remember, or maybe you don't, we were with Kelly Rich, a mutual friend, invited us to dinner. We'd never met before, and we went to the Cedars. And there was kind of the inevitable lull in the conversation. And Spencer for Hire was on TV, and you looked up at the TV and said, 1965 Mustang GT. And I responded with, yep, K-code, because I could see the engine emblem on the front fender. And your head snapped around like an antelope in the Serengeti that just heard the lion rustling in the grass. So that was kind of the beginning of, in hindsight now, that was probably, that look you were giving me was probably the origin of that heart eyes emoji. So I think that was the way things kind of started out for us. So, I can't really put into words how much you've meant to me. And even throughout all the times where we kind of had gaps in our communication and stuff, it's just like no matter what happens when we pick up, it's just like it's always been that way. Rianne even commented when we were in Vegas last time, and I may have told you that watching us as we were leaving breakfast and you and I were walking along talking by ourselves, and she said the way that I interact with you is different than the way I interact with anyone else that she's ever seen in all the years she's known me. So it's just a long-winded way of saying, man, I love you. Can't express it enough how much you mean to me, and I wish I was there to celebrate with you. But anyway, have a fantastic day.
Oh, Greg, I've heard that you have another birthday coming up. Man, another year older. Who'd have thought? We'd love to be there for you, but since we can't, we thought we'd bring a little bit on to you. My plan was to take you out for dinner for some mistress, but I just brought her home from winter hibernation and she woke up a little cranky, so we'll get back to that another day. Well, here we are, one of Wichita's most recognizable icons, Keeper of the Plains. This is actually our second stop. My lovely camera assistant and I stopped at Newland to have a beer to celebrate your birthday, but they were closed. So we'll have to save that for another day when we go out for a dinner. So anyway, I'd love to take you all over town and show you all kinds of things, but we could do that forever. So just want to say, love you, brother. Happy birthday. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a great day. Love you. Bye.
Hey, this is Kevin Costner's double from the studios in Yellowstone. And I know I don't look like him, but I really do on camera. Anyways, this is for my buddy Greg White. He's turning 99 today. And I want to wish him a very happy birthday because he doesn't have much longer on this earth. So have a drink for me, buddy. I'll see you soon.
Hi, Greg. This is your dad, of course. I can't believe it's been 55 years since you joined us in this world. You've done great for a kid who almost screwed up one of the most important basketball games of the 20th century. Happy birthday. Have a great day. I love you.
Hi, baby. Happy birthday. I haven't seen you since I got the new shower put in, so I wanted to show you what I've got. There's a shower head just for you. It's a rain shower, and it's for tall people. And then my doctor told me I needed safety bars in here. So I put in this little safety bar. Just 2 drinks. So you have a safe celebration for yourself for your birthday, and get your shots so you can come and see me in the new shower and do some yard work. Love you, baby. See you at the Shocker game Thursday and Saturday. Bye now.
Okay. So gotcha.
You bastard. I love you.
Oh, man.
This
So
was
you're-
all a complete setup. You don't really care what I think about the future. I get it. First of all, thank you. What an incredible effort. I really, first, love back to everybody. So anybody who didn't know, the guy in the green chair, that's Todd Raines, my best friend from college. Brian Detain, the guy with the Mercury Cougar, another Ford fanatic, my best friend from high school. Man, just people I would end the world for, and I know that they would save it for me. Amanda, gosh, you just never know the impact you have on people, right? And I really appreciate her saying that. I can tell that she's feeling like I am. I'm holding it together, sister. I am right here on the air. But and then of course George Lambertson. So funny story. I always joke with George about being like 150 years old, right? I'm such an ageist, aren't I? But we have this plan. He calls it Supernatural Island, where we're just going to go find an island, land there, and, well, mostly drink. So that's a lot of what he was referring to. And then, of course, my father, who was a great role model for me, big time. I think I've even mentioned him in one of the Tequila Sunrise episodes, was a merchandising side retailer. Never really got, I mean, I think he understood supply chain enough to dislike it. And my mother, who we've talked about so much, who raised me and shaped me, and hopefully is why I'm the kind of person that I am. And now also Delaney and Clay are outed for anybody who didn't know that Clay was dating my daughter. Now you do. So, God, I cannot believe that you did that. How did you get all those people together?
It was Clay and Amanda and Vicky and all the people that worked with us to get in those videos. So thanks to everybody.
Yes,
Greg, that doesn't do
everybody.
it justice, but we want to do something special because we're all very proud to have have you in our journey and be able to collaborate with you and spend life with you. So,
well,
with that,
this is a very special place. I mean, this is, I've worked some really special places before, and I've tried hard to make the places I have led be special places to work. But Scott, I don't know. I don't even know how to say it. The upbeatness, the caring, the genuine caring that you have, not just for us in the company, but for people in general. And, and I think it's obviated every day with what you post. And I know that is 100% genuine. And I love that. But also this community. I mean, you really care about bringing this to this community. And I think that's where we saw our confluence. And I think it was Dave, and somebody asked what our karaoke songs was. So we decided so late on that trip to Birmingham that I would go, that Scott was already there. I drove separate. And the story of that Honda it's not really that far off. Scott tells it better than I do, but we were packing out all the stuff because before we had a studio at King Plow, thanks to our good friend Enrique Alvarez from Vector Global Logistics, before we had that studio, we were nomads. We went in and set up the studio everywhere. And when I say we, what I really mean is Scott. set up the studio, and I watched and bullshitted with people while he was setting it up. So at UAB, he had already set up the studio. I helped him break it down, and he was offloading stuff, and he was loading it in a 4-door Honda Civic. And
Accord.
he had this big, what's that?
Accord is
Honda Accord.
One of my
right,
4 Accords.
Yeah, a big one. And he had this big, long thing, one of the backdrops or something that he was trying to fit into the car. And I'm like, where are you going to put that? And he said, well, I'm going to shove it through the trunk, the back seat, and it's going to rest in the front seat next to me. And I said, I was afraid you were going to say that. This car looked like a clown car full of electronic equipment. I mean, he could have been Spinal Tap. It could have been his own band with all of that. But anyway, that was the start of it. This incredible passion to get the word out, to get the news out, to let people know about supply chain, and to lift up the professionals in this craft is, it's part of what we're led to do. So thank you. I still can't believe you did that. I will never, ever forget or forgive. No, thank you very much. I appreciate
it's
the effort putting all that together.
Richly deserved, and I think Vicky's got some big plans this weekend. But thanks everybody for indulging us. We got to get to work. We got to shift gears quickly, Greg, because we've got you and a big guest here. So with that said, and by the way, thanks for all the wonderful comments here. Clearly, y'all didn't just indulge us, but you helped celebrate Greg with us. So thank you all very much. Okay. So Clay and Amanda, I'm going to speed things up a bit. I know I sent over the run of the show, but we're going to go ahead and get ready to bring in our wonderful guests here today. We got a chance to really put our finger on the pulse of a financial guru beyond. And as Greg mentioned, $1 billion in transactions is what Steve Keaveney, a partner with Clarity Capital Advisors, has been involved with and led. So with no further ado, let's bring in our special guest, Steve Keaveney. Good afternoon, Steve. How you doing?
Hey, Scott. Happy birthday, Greg. That was an amazing tribute. So you obviously got your sense of humor from your mom. She was the highlight of the reel.
Pretty clear, right?
Yeah, that was awesome. The safety
Steve,
bar.
It's funny you say that because, sorry, I'll do this real quick. But I was doing a startup grind, which is kind of like TED Talks for startups in Wichita. Wichita State asked me to come back and do that, and I stayed with my mother. And what I realized on that trip was 2 things. One, it doesn't matter how much of a big shot you are, how big of a backstop you have, how many companies you've built, grown, sold, capitalized on, whatever. There are 2 immortal truths. One is that when your wife will always want you to have a job, some kind of job. And 2 is whenever you visit your mother, she will make you do yard work.
Yeah,
that was the highlight. Sure. I agree with you, Steve. I didn't get a chance to look at the video until we saw it here live, and I had not met Greg's parents yet, and so that was wonderful. Both of them clearly have a sense of humor, and I didn't know where your mom was going with the shower, and then that bar was so funny. So love that. All right, so we got to get to work, folk. We're gonna kind of get our cake and eat it too today, right? We're gonna celebrate a bit, but also offer up some insights that our business leaders in our community can benefit from. So, Greg, why don't we let's get to know what Steve does first, right? Kind of set the table a bit, right?
Yeah. Steve, you want to tell us? Yeah, give us a lowdown of what you're up to these days, right?
Yeah. So basically, we help business owners unlock value in their companies, which results normally in a transaction where they're either selling equity in their business or selling the business altogether. So, we have a team of people. We've done hundreds of M&A transactions. So we have our finger on the pulse on what value drivers really moves the needle when investors or the market is determining the value of your business. And, with a little bit of time and effort, we can make some small changes to businesses, which really help them achieve the optimal outcome, when they're talking to investors or they are, looking at exit options to sell their company.
So,
Steve's, we talked a little bit about, and Amanda alluded to this sort of identifying superpower things. So Steve's superpower is he can look at the status of your company and this is a personal thing, by the way. Steve is a good friend of mine as well. He's in the circle of trust. And he can look at your business and look at where your business stands and identify what things, in what order, in what measure will give you that incremental value for your business. So,
yeah. And a lot of times, you're running a business and where you want to get to, and there's 50 things that need to be done in order to achieve that. And what we have a lot of experience with is helping sequence those things and say, okay, well, what do we do? What's the first thing we're going to do to build that foundation? And, then how do you grow it from there? So, a lot of, especially in the technology space, companies have a lot of different options to pursue. And, we help them just figure out what the path of least resistance is to achieve their objectives.
Wonderful. So we're gonna bounce around just a smidge here, Greg and Steve, because I want to go back as we continue to set the table, and before we get Steve to weigh in on some of the cash and financial and investment landscape. But Greg, putting you back on the spot, we were going to tee things up with what are some of the consistent issues that you're seeing companies face right now. So why don't we start there? And Steve, if you want to weigh in on what you're seeing as well in that area. But Greg, let's start with you. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, one of the things that, this has really got my attention lately, and the unemployment rate, the real unemployment rate, not just U3, just the basic unemployment rate, has really got me thinking about this and what an overreaction so many companies made to lockdown. Now, I'm going to excuse them. How could they have possibly known, right? But that overreaction spiked unemployment dramatically. It shifted a bunch of really valuable people, a lot of older workers, a lot of female workers out of the workforce, and real unemployment. That includes people who are what are called marginally unattached, meaning underemployed or no longer actively seeking work. Real unemployment remains at about 11.1%. So that's, and I want to put that out there as a theme, because that's really what we need to think about, is what is the long-term effect of a knee-jerk reaction, right? So that's one thing. Obviously, the business models that were turned upside down, the F word, Scott, fragility was in supply chain was recognized, I think, in the most incredible measure ever known. The struggles that companies have with remote and blended workforces. We're talking to people who are still saying, I'm moving to this town and I'm looking for work in this town. And in this day and age, I say in this day and age, 1 year later, right? It seems like you shouldn't have to say that as often anymore. But I hear a lot of people saying, I'm moving to Atlanta, I'm moving to Augusta, I'm moving to Chicago or Cincinnati or Los Angeles. Well, you don't hear anybody saying they're moving to Los Angeles anymore, but I'm moving from Los Angeles and I'm looking for work in Dallas or whatever, right? But, I think, and I'm hopeful that we continue to enable remote and blended workforces from that standpoint, where people don't have to go into the office every day. Human capital alignment. There are a lot of folks looking for work, as I talked about, but they're not being found, or they're not finding the work. I just feel like there is a gap there that needs to be closed. I look at these things as to how can we solve these kind of things. And that's one of those things that somebody with much greater human capital skills than me needs to work on. Rampant opportunism. Think about shipping prices, right? Things like that. Think about people, prices on PPE in the early days and things like that. That's a concern for me, though I think that's coming back around. And then this one really strikes at me, and that is inequity in financial struggles. We propped up and promoted big business, and we allowed literally hundreds of thousands of small businesses to be crushed and out of existence. And that's something we'll need to reconcile. That is a big issue. That's something we need to address. I mean, that wasn't always the case. But for a lot of companies kind of got on the back foot because of how they were handling their finances, or because they were disadvantaged by how we responded. By we, I mean the government, of course, how the government intervened to respond to this seismic societal disruption. So, those are some of the common things. There are hundreds others, but those are the ones that really have my attention, particularly the inequity in financial opportunity for small versus big businesses. That's a big concern, as they are the biggest employers in America, right?
Agreed. And to the folks in the comments, say, let us know what you're seeing and trends, issues, challenges, you name it. I would just add, before we go over to Steve, I would add, consumers in the slightly bigger picture. Consumers have more and more and more leverage, which is neat to see, and also sturdy, consistent suppliers are starting to gain more leverage. Of course, with chips, computer chips, we've seen that, but also really across manufacturing, because as we all know, we can't send a bunch of engineers on a plane easily to vet new suppliers, right?
And what companies have been able to do remotely is really, truly impressive, right?
Agreed. And we've seen a lot of that in the electronic space, especially going back, the last 12, 18 months. So, but Steve, piggybacking on what Greg has been sharing his observations, what else are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo a lot of what Greg said on the employment side. There obviously is, I think there's a lot of pockets throughout the U.S. that are experiencing high unemployment, but there's definitely areas where it's hard to find employees. I mean, I've found personally in the, finance people seem to be, there seems to be full employment there. It's hard we have a couple clients looking for strong finance people on, obviously on the technology side, software folks are in high demand, and, the salaries are rising there. We do a lot of work in logistics. We're with one of our logistics partners this week, and LTL truck drivers, you can't find them now. So I mean, there are certain segments or certain job opportunities where there really is a shortage today. So especially for young people, I think it's really hard for them to, when they're trying to plan their career path, to figure out, all the different options. And people really need to think, 5 years, the Wayne Gretzky skate to where the puck's going to be. Where are the jobs going to be in 5 years? And technology is having a huge impact on employment and employment opportunities. And the second thing I'm seeing with a lot of our clients and a lot of companies we're working with is people are being very sensitive to and aware of diversity. So, they're not just talking about it; they're actually, taking action and being. I think the awareness has changed significantly, and it's something that we're talking about every day, and I think that's great to see. And the last thing I would say is, a lot of companies, obviously everyone's been affected by, COVID and the pandemic, but, a lot of companies have really been able to transform their business and make some really bold moves and strategic moves coming out of the pandemic that has actually increased the value of their business. So, I think, as Greg said, some of the companies overreacted a bit, but I think a lot of strong management teams really, created lemonade from lemons, where they, really put on their strategic thinking caps and, made some bold decisions that really have positioned their companies coming into 2021 really do great things. So, we've been fortunate to work with a lot of outstanding entrepreneurs that have really turned 2020 into a good year, despite all the challenges.
Love that. I'm going to share a couple of comments here from the audience, and then Greg, I want to dive in a little deeper on some of the financial moves and topics we're seeing. Dr. Rhonda Bempenza Zimmerman, Arizona, she says, is seeing a high increase in transplants, but they still need folks for Global Trans Team near a branch. They've got 8 branches across the country. Folks that can work remotely and hiring people looking for opportunities. So y'all check that out. If you're in between jobs, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of that, especially across social media. Y'all make sure to connect with Rhonda there. As Aaliyah says,
she said that because when, having lived in Phoenix, where there's a Mayo Clinic, when she said transplants, I immediately went to organ transplants, right? She means people moving to Arizona.
That's right.
Yeah, a lot of people, and this is common. This is not an uncommon thing. I mean, even when we lived in Arizona, earthquake, people moved to Arizona, right? Social or economic unrest, people moved to Arizona. Now they're moving on across to Texas and other areas. But yeah, that's going to continue. Todd Raines also lives in Arizona, so I'm sure he's seeing some of that as well.
And that is across with a T at the end, Greg, in true Midwestern fashion. Across.
That's right. That's right.
As Leah says, will unemployment expedite this generational shift in the workforce? Undoubtedly, I would say. Simon says the world is much smaller than it was a year ago. Small businesses are going to spring up everywhere using virtual collaboration, and some big companies are going to struggle with infrastructure debt. The new and the old, big change coming. Man, Simon, bringing it hot today. Let's see here. Here is, I'll share that one. There's one other. Oh, here we go. Todd says, great point, Steve. The company that I joined after being furloughed last year has been having record-setting months repeatedly. And then he also said, Todd says, with the increased demand on tech infrastructure due to remote work and interaction, I would think the demand for tech and IT people would continue to be huge. Good points there. All right. So, Greg, where are we going next with Mr. Steve K?
Well, I'd love, we've talked a lot about advantages and disadvantages in terms of finance, but I'm curious. There have been some winners and some losers, regardless of their size, based on how they were funded. So many companies were caught on the back foot with too much debt or not enough cash flow or things like that. Steve, is there anything that jumps out at you that particularly hindered or particularly enabled companies to get through this? And the reason I ask that is because kind of the theme of this discussion is, what are we going to do about the future? What can we learn from what just happened that sets companies up to be successful from a finance standpoint?
Yeah, so I would say 2 things. One is valuations of companies were hit in 2020 because of uncertainty or perceived uncertainty. So, we had a couple companies that were extremely good companies with excellent prospects, and they were getting offers in that were less than we had hoped for, or less than we felt they were worth. Mm-hmm. So they kind of paused their process. But this year, valuations have gone, I'd say haywire. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever seen them as kind of frothy as they have been in the last couple months. And a lot of that's being fueled, everybody's reading about the activity in the SPAC space, where you have these large public funding vehicles that are out searching for acquisition opportunities. We had one of my clients, one of their competitors, was absorbed this week in a $1.8 billion SPAC transaction.
So can you share just kind of the fundamentals of a SPAC for the community so they understand how this thing works?
Well, let me add a little more to that question too, because I see my Wall Street Journal, and this last one, if I can get that right, Branson is exploring is one of just the latest. It seems like of thousands of folks involved in these SPACs, and each time I read it, I'm like, what in the world? What are these things, and why are they all of a sudden so popular, Steve?
Yeah, so a SPAC is a special purpose acquisition vehicle. So, and these have been around. They've been around forever, and I can't explain why they've become so popular. But there's approximately, based on some research, 326 SPACs that are active today, seeking acquisitions with $103 billion of capital. So basically, the way that this works is the SPAC forms a public, they register with the SEC, they form a public vehicle, and they raise capital. So you have a public vehicle with cash, and it has a theme. So they'll say this is a technology SPAC, it's a logistics SPAC, could be any industry, and then they'll hire in some experts in the industry, and they'll have some finance folks associated with it, and then they basically go out and they try to acquire businesses. And there's three benefits to the business. One is the company becomes, on completion of the transaction, they become a publicly traded company.
Right.
Two is the SPAC provides them with financing. So there's cash there that's available to them on day one. And then it also obviously gives them their market position. So they're positioned as a public company to do additional acquisitions. So the downside to the SPAC, so it all sounds great. This is, wonderful.
Right.
Let's all sign up for a SPAC tomorrow. The problem is, what happens because these SPACs have capital. So it's kind of like fresh fruit, that they have certain timetables that they need to deploy and complete these acquisitions, and if they don't, then they have to return the money to their investors. So what tends to happen is when they find a company that fits the criteria to move forward with a transaction, they tend to pay very, very high values. So they're overpaying for the acquisitions, which, if you can continue to grow these businesses, and the fundamental businesses tend to be good businesses, and there's opportunity to do further acquisitions, it can work out extremely well. But what's likely going to happen is 2 years from now, there's going to be these SPAC transactions that don't really play out because the underlying businesses that were acquired were not as robust as originally advertised.
And there's some question about that now because they're on this restricted timeline, Steve. They have to make that decision in 2 years, or they give all the money back to their investors, right? So
yeah, so
there is some real time pressure
incented
there, and
they're very
some of them are making less than optimal decisions. I think you and I have talked about a couple where we're going, I don't know if I see the growth there.
Right, exactly.
All right, so beyond the SPAC space, anything else you want to comment on, Steve, that what you're seeing trending here lately?
Yeah, well, the other big thing that has been very beneficial to a lot of businesses is the SBA funding. So there's been a series of programs which are also have been in the press that have provided really essential funding to a lot of small businesses, and also restaurants, hotels, businesses that were hugely impacted by the pandemic. So we've worked with a lot of our clients that have been able to access this funding from the SBA on very good terms. There was obviously in the last couple of days there was a further extension of that SBA program. So any companies that are unsure what options are available to them, we can point them in the right direction, we have a bunch of our partners that are helping businesses. We've done some of that, but we also are in touch with experts that know all the rules and the guidelines and the requirements to unlock that funding. So the government SBA program has had a real benefit to a lot of businesses, and it's something that everybody should be aware of, as they're planning out their financings.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Greg, we talk about when Kevin L. Jackson joins us, and he'll be joining us on the Buzz on Monday. Looking forward to that. One of the many things that he has done in his journey is get a satellite to Pluto. And that was no small feat. But as I hear Steve talking about some of the things they're involved in, goodness gracious, they're solving some of the most complex growth issues and financing issues related to business today. No wonder. I can't imagine how many lives, Steve, that went into that $1 billion of transactions you've been a part of.
How many jobs created? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate. I started with a family business, so I was kind of thrown in when I was in my early 20s running a company that ended up, working out to be successful. So we did 28 acquisitions in that first company, and, I've been involved in relatively complicated financings, from everything from startups that are raising 50 to 100 grand to, I guess the largest transaction I did was several $100 million for a large energy company. But it's been, a lot of fun. Yeah, worked with a lot of amazing people, and I've worked, around the world, everywhere across the states. Done a lot of work in Europe and Eastern Europe. Lived in Europe for 15 years, so traveled all to Budapest and Poland and all kinds of interesting places, and met a lot of very unique and interesting folks along the journey. So it's been a lot of fun.
We look forward to the book. All right, it's ready going.
No doubt.
We've got a couple more minutes here with Steve, but what else would you like to tackle?
Well, I'll tell you what. One thing that this always makes me think of, and I'm glad Steve got to share so much, because this is a critical and often missing element in what we classically call an entrepreneur, is finance knowledge, right? What entrepreneurs have mostly is guts and drive, and probably some charisma that allows them to sell and things like that. Not a lot of finance knowledge. And yes, I am speaking of myself. I never make any finance decision literally without Steve. So and I've always encouraged founders when I've worked with small organizations. I've always encouraged founders to learn about finance and get a good finance advocate, knowledgeable finance person on your team, whether that's fractional or full-time, but someone who knows how to fund a company, because you don't want to wind up in the situation where some of these companies wound up. And of course, the length of disruption that we've had, certainly it's excusable, but there are some companies that could have survived if they would have been better, or could have thrived because the market was turning their direction, but they didn't have the capital or the financial wherewithal, knowledge to be able to capitalize on the opportunity. So critical expertise. Never start a company without someone who's got your financial back, someone who knows more about finance than you do.
So to that end, let's make sure, Steve, I think we had 30 minutes and we've gone a little bit over of your time here today. I want to respect that. For folks that may be looking for a trusted advisor, as Greg was just touching on, how can folks connect with Steve Keaveney and, of course, Clarity Capital Advisors?
Thanks, guys. I put it up on the screen there, our website, clarityexit.com, so you can get all our contact details there. And, what we do is, we like to take on clients where we have, extremely relevant experience, and we feel like we're the best people to help you out. But for companies, we talk to a lot of people where we say, well, you have a great business, but it's not a perfect fit for us. And then we, know a lot of other folks that do what we do, so we can make sure you find the partner that's best suited to you, to help you get where you need to go. So a lot of companies we speak to, for whatever reason, it's just, we know somebody that maybe has more industry experience or, at their stage of development is a better fit. So we refer people back and forth to make sure they find the best fit for a partner that can help them chart their path.
I love that. I really appreciate that approach. Well, Steve, it's always a pleasure. I don't think I called it out on the front end. You're a repeat guest. You were part of one of our earliest live streams when we went from 1 channel to 5, and always appreciate and come out feeling smarter after spending 30 minutes with Steve Keaveney. So thanks so much.
And frequently consulted when we're talking about the length of the episodes for Tequila Sunrise and Supply Chain Now.
Well, you guys you've done an amazing job, and you're continuing to go from strength to strength. So I follow you guys closely and really enjoy all the content that you guys are generating. So you've done a fantastic job. And once again, Greg, have to leave with saying happy birthday, and appreciate you guys sharing your time with me. And, obviously delighted any of your followers be delighted to connect and do what we can to help them out. So thank you so much, and have a great rest of the show.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you. Take care, man.
Talk
Partner with Clarity Capital Advisors. Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care.
All right, man. I love.
Does that guy scream finance or what? He's just so level and right.
I can't see Steve screaming anything. I really
Good
can't.
point.
He is as level.
That is an excellent point. That is an excellent point. Yeah.
So I want to ask you. I didn't want to put. I want to pose a question to you, Greg. That Peter's got a good question here. I want to pose this to you. And by the way, hello, Sneha and Andrea. Great to have y'all here. You're kind of tuning in late, but it's okay. This will be available really soon on replay. Let's see here. So Peter says, so question, is it a myth that acquisitions end in job losses? Because his personal experience was it was all about rationalizing labor for quick win, savings, benefits. So Greg, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't always. A lot depends on what the acquisition is about. Sometimes there are these things called acqui-hires, where the people in the company actually have more value than the company itself. I don't mean aqua like water. I mean acquisitions for hire. So that happens, and sometimes the economics, sometimes the financial benefits of an acquisition aren't in the human capital. Sometimes they're in the technology. Sometimes, and we see this more and more often, because acquisitions are so complex and difficult to integrate, and technology often has a lot to do with this. You'll see someone acquire a company just for the revenue. And that company effectively operates as an independent entity. So literally nothing changes other than they are now a subsidiary of XYZ Corporation. So it doesn't always. A lot of times when there's a lot of physical labor, when there's a lot of human capital involvement, companies will try to economize by using technology. But I think, I got to tell you, that's a great question, but I think that's less and less of a concern now, because someone else, I can't remember, I'm sorry, but someone else was talking about the generational transition, probably Azalea, right, was talking about the generational transition and what that means for unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those people are retiring, and understand that baby boomers were the biggest, one of the biggest generations in the history of the earth. So as they retire, and the jobs that they were doing are more physical, more manual, more menial, whatever, those types of jobs, I'm not saying all of them are what they were doing, but those types of jobs, nobody wants those jobs anyway. So it doesn't necessarily result in that. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to cut jobs that require human capital, where no one wants the job, or technology can do the job in a faster, more efficient, or safer way. And it has, I think, created much more balance in employment. Think about this. Before COVID hit last year, we were above statistical full employment. Statistical full employment is 4.4%. We were at unemployment. We were at 3.5% unemployment right before COVID hit. So, and remember, Scott, it doesn't seem so long ago. We were talking about if you're looking for a job, look in supply chain. We had an incredible talent shortage in supply chain, obviously in transportation. There's a lot of that. And in trade jobs, right? 4 million trade jobs unfulfilled at the time that COVID hit. So there's a ton of opportunity out there anyway. But anyway, sorry, that's a long answer to Peter's short and simple question.
That's a good one. Great question, Peter, and even better answer. Let's see here. Andrea says it depends on the acquisition plan that the company has. They usually don't end up in job losses because of the know-how. Good point there. Peter said it's going to be an interesting journey with Air Canada acquiring Air Transat. I'll be keeping that on my radar there, Peter. But Gary says it's been his experience, I guess, with the of the job losses, unfortunately, especially in leveraged
buyout. Wow,
buyouts.
Gary, flashback to the 80s there. Yeah, especially there, and that was a particularly Machiavellian time.
Agreed. Machiavelli, what a interesting historical figure to study. And Greg's the one that drops on the podcast. Why am I not surprised that Greg, in all of his infinite wisdom, drops Machiavelli on a podcast? Okay, so it is 1:01. We've gone slightly over. I was worried. We could talk fun stuff and birthday stuff for a long time, but I kind of like how we tackled that. We celebrated that, and we were still able to get Steve in and talk shop and talk big picture stuff all in one episode, kind of a tale of two cities for sure. So Greg, as we sign off here today, and as you've got this next year around, what do folks say? One more trip around the sun or something like that, whatever.
Yeah.
So what's one thing, I'll put you on the spot. What's one thing that you would like to do or get better at or experience, whatever, in this next year?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, personally, one of the things that I would like to do is I would like to do some of this mobile. I think when we're all released, that's just the beginning of the next round of disruptions, shifts, bubbles, and transitions. And I'd like to experience it, right? I mean, one of the things I'm doing is looking for a boat and the ability to do this from a boat, but I think on land as well. I think I want to experience people again in their native environment, whatever that native environment might be now. And I think that's one of the things that I really want to do. It's not very highbrow, but I just like people. I love learning about their stories and what they are and what they hoped to be, what they hope to be now. You just watched that video. There were a ton of stories of people who had plans, which God laughed at and said, "Here's what's going to happen for you," and every one of them has come through it stellar fashion. And I love that. I just love experiencing people's experiences.
Agreed. I almost said Greg. Agreed. As Leah says, Greg is preaching. I agree. Andrea said, if you come to Mexico, we'll have tequila drinks to celebrate. Todd
Actually,
loves
you can count on that. That is definitely going to happen. So I'll share a little bit more about that soon.
The Dinner with Racers podcast model would be awesome. We're going to explore
How about
that.
drinks, Todd?
Peter says, come to Montreal for some smoked meat and bagels. Is that
oh, yeah. Smoked meat sandwich is the delicacy that makes me love Montreal.
Now, Peter, we got to count on Peter. You can't get through any kind of episode celebrating Greg without saying provenance. So well said. Hey, we got to celebrate this with Gary. Oh, first with Kim. Greetings from the Holy Lands and the Middle East, gents. Fresh from co-hosting the Logistics Middle East Awards, representing Supply Chain Now as a media partner. Kim.
In person. People were actually touching. It was amazing. I wondered if anyone has ever thought of that before.
Kim, we're about to wrap, but if you could drop that link what I think you already have a summary link of the awards. Drop that in the show notes, and if you don't drop in there soon enough, send it to us. I'd love to look at it and share with our community via social. And then Gary, we got to celebrate this. Gary got his first vaccine shot yesterday, so he looks forward to getting mobile again too. Greg, I'm with you.
Just in time to get out of upstate New York. Now that the sun is gone or the snow is gone, right?
That is right. Mahesh also had birthday, Greg, via LinkedIn. Thanks
you.
for that. Thanks for everybody for tuning in today. A special, unique episode celebrating Greg White, but also celebrating Greg and Steve Keaveney's knowledge on the market and business and where we are and where we're headed. So thanks for everybody. Andrea says, Greg, best new word. Scott, yeah. Hey, we make up words all the time here. Andrea, you should.
I like that. Yeah.
But hey,
we should just do that from now on. Let's just make that part of the vernacular. Hiya, Greg.
Make things so much easier. But hey, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in and of course indulging us and allowing us to celebrate some of the things that we encounter along this journey and celebrate friendship and partnership. Really big thanks to Vicky and Amanda and Clay. Clay in particular, I think, put the whole video together after all the submissions. So wow. Clay, well done. Really appreciate that, especially on short notice. We hope from our team to yours, wherever you are, I hope you have a wonderful Thursday afternoon as we get ready to hit the weekend again tomorrow. If you've got a team in the big dance here in the States and the NCAAs, March Madness, best of luck. Hopefully your brackets avoid the big upsets.
Go Shockers.
And big high five to the Shockers who play Drake tonight at around 6 p.m., I believe. Right, Greg?
7. Oh, my gosh. 6:30 Eastern time. I have it on my calendar. One of the few things I have on my calendar after 6 p.m.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
So, hey, everybody.
TBS, I believe, in case you were interested.
I think you're right.
Which you better be.
Hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. All the best to you wherever you are. Hey, do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. Be like that Bob Marston guy we were talking on the front end.
Amen.
And on that note, we'll see you next time here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, Greg White. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Much love.